Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about breath support. So if you're here to learn about breath support, well then, god damn it, you've reached the right place. So we're going to go over some different exercises. We're going to talk about how to go about this and pitfalls and good things and bad things. So everybody shut up. I'm going to sing stuff. All right, so I don't talk about breath support too much. It can be super helpful, and it can be super fucking not helpful. So the reason I don't is because a lot of times people will seek out information like this because they want to go from 0 to 60 very, very fast, and then they develop super bad habits. So if you're here and you've barely done any of this stuff before, but then you start learning how to hold your breath and reserve air and conserve air and all that different stuff, and then you don't get any guidance, there's a chance that you could go for like a year and be like, I'm doing exercises where I'm learning how to hold my breath. And I've dealt with students like that where the second they start singing, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so it can be very troublesome and bad in that way. But the good things about it are endless. There's great things about it. Endless. That's what endlessness looks like. So we're going to talk about it like this. First of all, what the fuck do I mean by breath control? I mean learning how to conserve air and utilize it correctly as per what you're doing. If we were getting into mixed voice and distortion and things like that, which we will a little bit here today, we're going to learn how to hold back breath and utilize it as we need to, instead of the instinct in the body, which is all like, I need to go heavier, and I need it to be heavier, and I need it to be louder, I need it to... No. If you think logically, a mouse, a tiny little mouse, would be making a very small sound, like, you know, that was a mouse sound, but it would be using very little tiny amount of air. People's instinct when they go higher is to use more air and to be louder and stuff. That don't make no sense. So stop doing that and think about it like a cone, a nose cone or something like this. Everything gets smaller as we go higher. And that doesn't mean we're not able to push into it. Doesn't mean blah, 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 blah. But that's one version of understanding breath control. We're learning how to conserve and hold back breath. So let's get into this shit, shall we? First, when you get into breath control, when you start understanding breath control, we're first going to process it. And this is the dangerous part. We're going to process it first by holding the breath and feeling where that holding breath comes from first. It's going to come from where the vocal cords are. That's what's going to stop the breath flow. If I go right here where my vocal cords are, I have stopped airflow coming out of my face holes. So, would first be processed and felt down here. Now, the reason I say felt is not to come up with more clever, neat things to say, but it's because singing is so much more about feeling things, learning how they feel, than it is about what you're hearing in terms of sound coming out of your head. Especially beginners and amateur singers and stuff are going to keep trying to listen and manipulate their voice as they're doing it, as they're hearing it. The more you get to know what singing feels like and you process this stuff as a feeling, similar to standing on your head and balancing on your head or doing a handstand or walking across a tightrope or some shit like that, I can show you the path and talk about it, but you're going to have to learn the coordination yourself. That's another reason why you can't jump into videos like mixed voice and shit and be like, I didn't do it right, and you said to do this, and I can't. It's like, well, no shit. Like, it's not going to happen that fast. Hopefully you will. Hopefully you get a couple steps in before you fall off the rope, but I'm just trying to show you and teach you what it should feel like, so when you get on the goddamn rope, and you can have somewhere to think about it and process it. But again, close your eyes, shut the fuck up, and process it in the body. Pay absolute close attention to what is happening on every level. Now, as I mentioned, you're going to first feel it from right here. We're not always going to process it heavily from that location, but that's the starting place we're doing it from right now. Simple scale, follow along. I think that's keyboard cat, isn't it? Okay, I won't put that up. Anyway, so if I go, a forcible exhale from here, very light, not heavy. Ha, 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 just like coughing. Should be able to hopefully see my stomach. Or if I laugh, you can see that it's pushing, forcibly exhaling from here. Ha, ha, ha. So that's what we're doing right now, but we're being cognizant, we're being perceptive of feeling the stop from up here. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Notice my breath keeps going down here. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. On the way back down, hold back the breath more. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Two more. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha. One more time. Ha, 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 ha. Now, if you're having trouble with mixed voice, or you're having trouble with distortion, some people teach it like this. Again, my instinct is not usually this first, but fuck it. We're on the internet. Let's do whatever we want. I'm going to take my pants off. Anyway, now for processing it from there first, now let's start taking this a little bit farther. Let's do it in head voice. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Be light. Don't hurt your voice. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. One more. Ooh, 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 ooh. Now, one more step in head voice. Let's try taking vocal fry and making it as small as possible. People that are like, I can't do these sirens you're doing, I can't do the flageolet thing you're doing, comes from breath control. It comes from making the smallest sound you can make and using the smallest amount of air you can make. So if I go, and then I start cutting that off from the same place, that's the tiniest sound I can make. Is already quiet, is even quieter. So I'm using as tiny amount of air as I can. As I take that up into the head voice coordination, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to get to vocal fry, but I'm going to use tiniest amount of air I can and keeping some kind of connection so it's not just like, so if I go, there's flageolet. Head voice again would be ooh, ooh. But again, just using a little tiny bit of air. You can work with that with slides, but just right now, take vocal fry and try to keep thinking about it in different places here, moving from one space to the next. So let's keep moving on. Let's take this in terms of mixed voice. Doing sirens, keeping it simple so I'm not all over the fucking place with scales and things like that. If we do something like a siren up through mixed voice, again, using something like O to oo, we're going to be really paying attention to how much breath we're using and holding it back. So if I go, oh, that's pretty open. If I start holding that back, oh, I'm going to be getting more of a kind of condensed, connected sound, mostly just from going, and holding it back. So you can almost take that into the cry direction, which I'm not going to do today, but the cry technique is also a form of breath control. We relate to it by calling it compression. Compression is a form of breath control as well. Compressing the airflow so it's not like this. So let's take it like this. This is already through my bridge. Probably might be through your bridge as well. O to oo, use those vowels to your benefit, but again, try to use less air or try to really be paying attention to holding back your breath. Oh, you can hear I'm almost in vocal fry, just holding it back. Oh, 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 oh. One more. Oh. Now, Coming back down, I want you to try to pay attention to this nasal space more. I've said this plenty of times, and I know people struggle with it. It's not easy to find. But if I compress from here first, then I'm going to start thinking about compressing in spaces higher. So if I go, Timmy took my ball, that piece of shit, I'm going to be getting a compression up here, not just down here, like that. So again, it can be vocal fry, but that might be one of the missing pieces for you. So let's take it just like that. Two more. Now, how does this relate to actual singing? If I can compress and I can utilize that breath, I should be able to push these things harder. Again, think about it like warming up and stretching first and then start putting volume underneath and seeing what happens. If you're blowing yourself apart, then you're losing your compression, you're losing your vocal cord closure. You probably shouldn't go that loud. You got to build this. But if I can hold that breath back and I can keep in that space and have cord closure, it's coming all from that same place. Holding back breath. Screaming. Is holding back breath. Now, let's take this one step farther and go in the distortional realm. If I hold that breath back, hold back breath from here, and I get to know that compression point. I want to use E or and I want to try to think above that place. You can almost physically see me thinking about that. Those are my false chords. That's a form of vocal distortion. Let's try to find it. Let's take one note at a time. We're going to stop the breath from here. Going to feel like a compressed spring, but we don't need to push hard. But we're going to feel that compression, like that compressed spring feeling. It was allowed to escape. Now it's like that. And then we're going to try to use this vowel. Pointed towards the nose. Now let's stretch it out. One more. Again, all versions of holding back that breath. Hopefully some of this made sense to you. How do you use this in terms of singing? Are you going to go on stage and you're going to fucking hold your breath the whole time and pass out? No. Again, that's why I don't teach this stuff that much, because I don't want people to always perpetuate this idea of going, huh. There's people that I heard recently from, like, pretend you're in a poisoned room so that you're just going, I want you to sing a song. Again, these are more extreme versions of things. We don't always have to go, like this. That's tiring, man. I need just enough air to make connection and sing the way I need to sing, but I do not always need to go like this. Keep in mind, if your voice gets tired or doesn't feel good, give yourself a rest. Again, processing these ideas and these things right from where the vocal cords are tends to be problematic if you go too heavy. So even making these glottal stops, you're not putting that much pressure on there. You're just using enough air to make things work and happen. And then as you get warmed up, you can push support up underneath this and try to see what works. But you're going to find a comfortable place where if I go this loud, it starts to fucking hurt or doesn't feel well, or I feel like I can't sustain it, which I refer to as the milk jug effect, where you're like, dude, I got this. And then 10 seconds later, you're like, so keep that in mind and give this some time. Give this some time to work on it. If you're having trouble with sirens and things like that, whoa, like this. Again, look into open throat, look into mixed voice, look into the cry technique. But again, we're still utilizing all the time different levels of utilizing that breath control. So it was good to see everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. I will see you again soon. Gonna do some reaction videos. Tell me about the stuff you want to learn about, and I'll fucking make videos about it, man. You can join me on Patreon. Teach a lot more over there. Love people supporting me and helping me make this stuff. Thank you to those people. And then again, yeah, too, if you want me to react to something, if you want me to make a reaction video and break down somebody's voice, let me fucking know who it is. I'll fucking do it. I'll see you soon.